Story 1. Dementia. This happened to my father. I will tell the story the way he told me. I was 22 years old. I had just gotten a place closer to my new job, but the neighborhood I lived in was secluded. Maybe 4 houses within a mile. Nothing for miles after that. I was having a normal night, maybe my first week there. I watched some TV and fell asleep. When I woke up around 1 a.m., I was about to go to my bedroom when I remembered to turn off the bathroom light at the opposite end of the house. As I was walking through the living room, I could barely see through to the kitchen and even farther, the dining room. It was pitch black because the bathroom door was closed. In the dining room, however, I saw something tall standing up in the corner. I froze, and as my eyes adjusted, I saw it was an old man or woman in a white gown with white hair. "Hey!" I yelled. The old person sprinted towards me like a fucking jet. I sprinted back to my room, where the light was on. I put my hands up, ready to fight, and the old person came lunging in, and when they saw me, they stopped and said, "Why are you in my house?" I pretended I was leaving and apologized while I eased into the closer bathroom, locked the door, and called 911 with the house phone. Turns out, a woman about a half-mile away in the neighborhood had a form of dementia and wandered into my house while I was sleeping. Story 2. Poser. Story happened to my mom years ago when she was in her late teens. Her and a couple friends were driving up one of the canyon roads one night when an unmarked police car flagged her down from behind with his lights, so she pulled over to the side of the road. Officer came up to the window, told my mom to step out of the car, and then noticed her friends. I assume he thought she was alone. When she went to open the door, he stopped her, nervously changed his tone, and asked my mom where they were going. My mom gave a throwaway answer and is now starting to get creeped out by this guy. After looking at the girls in the car for a second, he spots beer. All were underage. But instead of ticketing them, he tells my mom to give him the case of beer, then told her there are creepy people and devil worshippers who live in the canyon and to head back to the city. So, my mom and her friends gave this guy the beer and went back into the city. A few weeks later, she's watching the news, and there's a story about a man who's posing as a cop, pulling over unsuspecting women and raping them. They then gave a description of the car, and it was the same car that had pulled her and her friends over that one weekend. She did find it odd. This guy didn't show his badge, nor was he in uniform, but I don't think it hit her until that story, how dangerous it could have been. She believes the guy didn't initially see her friends when he pulled her over and just assumed she was driving alone. Story 3. 500. So, about 3 years ago during summer, I had a habit of staying up late playing games with my window open. This usually wasn't a problem, as my neighborhood was usually quiet. However, one night someone knocked on my window around midnight. When I went over to investigate, I heard someone calling out for help in Spanish. My family was up, and I assumed it was one of my neighbors, so I went outside. Once I saw the person, I immediately knew something was off course. 1. This wasn't one of my neighbors, and 2. This person's clothing was ripped, and they didn't have shoes on. Turns out the person was a she. I thought it was a young boy at first, and she only spoke Spanish. I tried communicating with my basic Spanish skills to no avail. Eventually, I went inside to ask my parents for help. We ended up calling my uncle, who was fluent in Spanish. He helped translate and told us that she said she was being human trafficked from Honduras and needed help. She wanted either 500 or a car to LA. We couldn't give either and offered to call the police, but she seemed adamant that the police didn't get involved. After this bombshell, my family went inside and decided to just call the police. After making this decision, we wanted to check up on her at least. But as my mom and I were walking outside, we saw a car with no headlights pull onto our street. We immediately noped back inside. Once we felt that the coast was clear, we went back out, and the lady was gone. We called the cops and filed a report, but we never heard anything more. Story 4. Easter Bunny. When I was a little girl, my brother and I shared a room. We were 15 months apart, and in our room we had a wood divider down the middle because we fought so much anyways. I was maybe between 4 and 6 years old. I can't remember exact age, and it was Easter time. Actually, it was the Saturday night before Easter Sunday, and I heard something in our room. I thought it was the Easter Bunny. So I peeked out of my covers, and I swear to this day, it was the real Easter Bunny. I saw a black vest with chains and a pocket watch hanging down, and some glasses hanging out of the other top pocket. He walked over, and I shot my head back under the covers. He sat down on my bed. I became very scared. My older sisters had said the Easter Bunny kills bad kids and kids who try to peek at him, and I was definitely a little shit either way, and pulled the covers taut and could feel him lean over me and get very close to my face. I peeked out again with one eye, and I saw an eye staring back at me, then a pillow go over my head. I slowly turned my head to the side because I couldn't breathe and didn't know what was going on, but I got a breath and held it. In my little pea-brain head, I had a voice that just said, "Hold it in," like I'm playing a game. Well, I did. Then the Easter Bunny got up off the bed. I could hear him and the chains on his vest rattle as he walked, then back through the window. I was so scared I didn't know that to do. I just laid there under the covers, with the sheet pulled taut and the pillow on top of my head, and eventually fell asleep, I guess. I honestly don't remember if I tried to wake my parents or not. I just know I woke up in my bed the next morning, thinking it was all a dream. I told my sisters and brother that the Easter Bunny came and sat on my bed last night as we went through our Easter candy and got ready to go for our Easter egg hunt. My mom and dad overheard, and the next thing I know they called the police, and there were footprints outside of mine and my bro's bedroom window, and the screen had been ripped off, and the window slightly slid open. Years later, I found out a sicko had been trying to hurt me to get back at my dad. He was a biker. My dad was too. Henceforth the black leather vest and chains. And apparently that wasn't the only time he broke into our house. And that's not the only time he tried to hurt me or talk to me. He used to call and talk to me all the time apparently. I don't remember any of it, but that one incident. Story 5. Creep. I should preface this by saying that I am an overweight, unattractive woman, so this story is even creepier for me. Back when I was 19, I worked part-time at the local smoke shop, weekends and evening closing, 7 p.m. shifts. A few weeks after I started, this older guy, I think in his late 40s to early 50s, starts hitting on me and won't stop no matter how many times I say no. Even if he wasn't old enough to be my father, he looked like a meth head and had the hygiene of one in addition to his inability to accept the word no as an answer. This goes on for a couple of weeks, him coming in every time I'm working to see me, even when I switch days with the other girl that worked there to try and shake him. She was a bit older with an ID gaff attitude, and even she was weirded out by this guy. Manager finally meets him when she was covering my shift after a car accident and bans him for inappropriate behavior after he started. Asking her where I was and if I was okay after the accident. The accident no one had told him about. I come back to work a couple of days later, relieved that the guy is banned and that I can call the cops if he shows up. When my shift ends that night, I notice a van at the store across the street. This was odd because all the stores on that block close at 5, and it was past 7 when I finished up my closing duties. I get in my truck and start on my way home, and the van follows me. Naturally, I was freaking out, so I called my mom and hurried home, jumped out, and ran to the patio where my dog and parents were waiting for me, ready to call the cops. He must have seen the cars in the driveway and that I didn't live alone because he only pulled into the driveway a few feet before backing out and taking off. We did call a sheriff's deputy we know, and he checked on me from time to time at the store after closing and sometimes escorted me home for a few weeks after that, which I was immensely grateful for. After that night, though, I never saw the creepy guy again. I'm just glad I didn't live alone, or who knows what sort of Buffalo Bill type situation I would have been in.